how some of what we're doing is like these core foundational principles that exist in our world. They're not and I have a hard time sometimes with that in this place of thought leadership and like coming up with thought leadership. And looking for like the evidence and the proof and like business and all these things. It's like, these are foundational, like biological, mother nature based things. Like they're a part of who we are. And I think we sometimes forget that. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know you've been on the podcast before. I should have looked at what episode that was, but I'm like, we're just going to go with it. I will make sure it's teed up in the show notes if people want to go listen to the other one. But I know that recently I was following on social media and you took like a social media sabbatical. And when I was in this space of like, I want to have just conversations with people, I want to talk about like the lessons and the learnings and like seeing some of the things that you had been sharing about that journey of taking time off and coming back. I was like, this is one where I was like, let's have this conversation. So I know that'll be weaved into today, and there'll be so much other things weaved into today that we will just have this like beautiful conversation. So thanks so much for coming on.
Oh my gosh, I'm honored. And, it's funny. I was telling a friend right before we hopped on who you were and what I was about to do and on this podcast. And she was like, oh my gosh, like she didn't even understand that there was a world where women would talk about aligning ourselves and cycle syncing and all. And I was like, oh yeah. And I think we sometimes forget people don't know what we're talking about.
Totally.
They haven't heard this. And so my intention today is that our honest conversation would just be a breath of fresh air to someone somewhere, some other woman who is walking through her journey of navigating, growing a business, growing a family, figuring out who she is on the way. Like, we're holding a lot at once. So I just
Totally.
don't take today's conversation lightly. Like, it will be something to someone, and that's great for me.
Yeah. It's so funny that you bring that up, because I feel like I'm in the space of thinking like, oh, everybody's talking about it. Like my social media feed is like all about hormones, all about business, all about perimenopause. Like, I mean, that's like my entire social feed. Like I'm surrounded by it all the time. And yet we're not. Like, we get outside that bubble and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is not where we're at. And then just this weekend, we had a friend of ours that was like visiting from out of town, and totally different space, totally different thing. Like, I mean, he's not in business, not online, but hearing him talk about some things and like how our conversation just like clicked. It was like so beautiful to watch. Like, and he said something around, what did he say? Oh, he's a therapist. And he was like talking about play and like how important it is for his patients and things like he talks about. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the same thing, but I use pleasure. Like I talk to my women about like pleasure over pressure, and how some of what we're doing is like these core foundational principles that exist in our world. They're not like, and I have a hard time sometimes with that, like in this place of thought leadership and like coming up with thought leadership. And looking for like the evidence and the proof and like business and all these things. It's like, these are foundational, like biological, mother nature based things. Like they're a part of who we are. And I think we sometimes forget that.
They're not even just a part of who we are. You said exactly that, but we forget them. Like, I'm coming out of a season of, for anybody listening, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 22 years old. That's 16 years. I've been figuring out how to run a business, inspire people, move things forward, grow myself. And at times I can feel like an expert, and sometimes I can feel like, yeah, like I forgot that's important. So you even just mentioning play. I'm coming out of just a recent season, the last few years, I would say 2.5 years. Let me give some background. I was in network marketing for 10 years. In my first 6 months in network marketing, they had a saying that was like, the opportunity is equal to your ambition. And I was like, fantastic. I'm ambitious. This is like my place. I didn't even wear makeup and I decided to sell makeup. I was like, cool, I'm in. So I skyrocketed. I was successful right away, earned my first free car in my first 6 months, was a leadership position, ended up after 10 years burning out, absolutely burning
Mhm.
out, falling apart, getting sick, anxiety, depression. It led me into personal self-discovery, which led me into leaving that career and starting my own coaching business in 2020. And that took off because I was so on fire with helping people figure out, like, hey, you have wisdom inside of you. Like, know the answers for how you should like define success. They're individual. Like, oh,
Yeah.
the way you should align your business is based on your priorities. Like, I
Mhm.
was so fascinated by this. So, long story short, 2020, started a business, and I never didn't make multiple six figures after that. Very successful business. And then in the last 2 years, started burning down again. And I was like, no, I burned down before. I thought I already healed myself. And I realized somewhere I was unaligned again, and I couldn't see it on the surface. I knew it was subconscious. And I ended up getting pregnant and really desiring, like, I built this crazy big business again. And I was like, I don't even think I want this. Like,
Mhm.
it is taking so much of my life. And what was really annoying to me was I had no one to blame but myself. I did it. I built
Mhm.
this. I hired these people. I promised I would have this much, energy and excitement and enthusiasm. And everybody's looking at me as a visionary. And I was like, I want to quit. I want to
Yeah.
take a break. I want to slow down. And so, long story short, I got pregnant. I ended up saying, like, I need to take space. And while it was halfway burning down, I decided to just pause it all. Took maternity leave the last, year and a half, and have been doing just a little bit of business, nothing proactive, um, but was really focused on healing myself and looking inward, saying, like, what's going on with me? Left social media altogether for
Mhm.
almost a year, which was wild because my identity, I'm like, who am I if no one knows what I'm doing? There was like this whole thing. I share all of that because
Mhm.
I'm coming out of a state of survival. I went down to the bottom, like where I'm in survival state again. And I'm just going like, how do I get out of this place? And the thought of play feels
Mhm.
ridiculous to me. It feels like something I can't even access. The thought of pleasure, growing a business around pleasure, I'm like, well, girlfriend, that sounds sweet, but I gotta like pay my bills?
Mhm.
So I actually just feel genuinely curious, Renee, when you talk to people about that, how do you help someone who's in survival access play or joy or pleasure? That almost felt unrealistic or accessible to me when I was in a
Mhm.
state of survival.
Yeah.
Is it possible to access that?
I mean, I think all of it, I think it's all a choice. I think I really do. And I like was listening to actually a podcast, not a podcast, a book with the Dr. Joe Dispenza book this morning. And he was talking about this story of like a woman who, you know, had all these horrible things. She was like widowed and she had got cancer, and then she had all these autoimmune stuff, and like literally like the worst possible place you could be, right? Like single, kids, not able to keep a job, she's like paralyzed, like has widowed, like all of these things. Like when you think of like the world falling apart, that was her story, and how she made like a defining moment of like, this is not where I'm going to stay anymore. And then like went into, she was like in his book, he's talking about like meditation and like rewiring the thought programming enough until it actually changed on the external. So I think that like, I mean, burnout, I think pleasure, I think all of it, it's all a conscious choice of where we place our attention and where our thoughts are all of the time. And I think sometimes that we forget, like when we're in those like really low spots of, like I mean, I had my, like, I would call my dark ages. And I was like, I think I just need to be here. I think I need to be here in this dark spot, and I need to be with these thoughts. And I don't want somebody to come in and say, like, we need to shift it and we need to change it and we need to tap into the pleasure and we need to tap into the play. Like in that season, I really do think I fully needed to feel the feelings instead of like just brushing over it. So I do think that there is some element of like when we're in that burnout, we're in that place, we have to become aware of it. Like we have to be able to feel those feelings too, because life is a contrast. Like life is, it's not all fun. It's not all play. It's not all pleasurable. It's not all happiness, all joy. Like we have those other elements and like we have to be able to experience the other elements to be able to fully feel the other ones too. So I don't think that the burnout is inherently bad, like in the sense like if we allow ourselves to actually truly feel it and process it and be in it and understand that it's a choice if we stay in that burnout or whether we decide to move it or to change it in that space. I think that for me, like this year has been my year of contentment. I think the burnout that I felt and the like frustrations that I've felt are because of the expectations I was placing on myself and the growth that I wanted to create. And so it was like this striving for growth and striving for something that's what created the burnout and like moments and feelings of frustration and anger and all the things that I was feeling. That for me, it was a place of like, okay, what if I could just be really content with what's here right now? And how could I, in this moment of like at my worst, at my lowest, at this like sucks state, how could I be content with it right now? And what would that look like? How would things need to shift? And like what would things look like? And that for me was that like that's been like the defining thing for me like this year of coming out of like those dark moments and those dark ages was really looking at like nothing changes. Like I had to become really okay with like my business. Like we were talking about before, like my business had a 60% pay cut this last year. I didn't make any money. Like I didn't bring any money home myself, like personally. Like it was literally just enough to like keep my business from going under essentially this last year. And to be okay with that. Like I had to sit with that feeling of like, what would I do? What do I need to do? What do I need to shift to feel like this is okay? Like, and this is how it's going to be. Yeah.
Renae, you even
Yeah.
saying that, like, do you know how liberating even us talking about that is? Like, it makes me feel emotional for so many other women who feel like they can't admit, oh, I dipped down.
Mhm.
It's not going well financially right now. And
Mhm.
so much of when we're female entrepreneurs, value is attached, our internal value
Totally.
is attached to the value that's happening in our businesses. And
Yeah.
mine went from renting private islands, like, who do you think you are? Like, look
Mhm.
how big I can go. And then going, I don't know if I can pay my VA this month. I think I need to let
Mhm.
all my employees go. Like, I need to cut off all the memberships because I don't know when money's going to flux back in.
Yeah.
Like, that's a devastating place to be for your ego when your
Mhm.
ego is attached to your identity of success in your business. And I really had to, I want to go back to that dark night of the soul, the dark ages that you call it.
Mhm.
That's what I just went through. And this was not the first time I've burned out. And my burnout, when I burn out, I don't have the luxury of being a kept woman. Like I'm not a kept woman. I've never been a kept woman. So I remember when people were like going into their soft era and they were like, just lean back and like relax. And I was like, I have 4 employees to pay every single month. Just girl bossed it so big that I told my husband to quit his job and find his passion. Like I literally did
Yeah.
that. 2021, I was like, babe, like we're good. Quit. Like you now find your passion.
Mhm.
And then I'd set myself up to hold everything energetically. So I think I'm a distinct kind of entrepreneur who was that girl boss who retired or their husbands and then had to hold it
Mhm.
all. And
Yeah.
I burned out so hard because everyone needed me to produce, be
Mhm.
visionary, be magnetic, show up and create the content, make the podcast, do the things, deliver the products. Like, and again, this was no one's fault. I built it around me. And I want to share some wisdom I learned from doing exactly what you said, which was staying in my dark night.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to bypass it and be like, let me positivity out of this, I was like,
Mhm.
let me be with this.
Yeah.
Let me see. I was like, God, I don't want to do this again because this burnout doesn't just cost me my physical, mental, financial, it's costing my family. I'm not the same mother to my kids. I'm not a leader. I don't. feel the same about myself. It's like everything was happening. So I want to share one of the reasons why I realized I burned out. And I'm sure you've shared this on your podcast before, but we as women are cyclical beings. And we go through, even in life, the cycles, like the 4 seasons of the year. So, with everyone, always, if you're listening to this and have not heard this concept before, I want to explain it. There is spring, where we have new beginnings, where you're planting seeds, where there's like the excitement about something you're building and you're starting to see the flowers grow, but you're doing the beginning work and it feels like, okay, I'm anticipating something's coming. Then there's summer. It's like, this is so much fun. There's so much money. There's so much joy. There's so much to do and
Yeah.
experience. There's summer. And then there's fall where the leaves start to fall. You start to shed things. You start to have to begin to let go of things that don't serve you anymore. And then you go into winter, and winter is this void season
Mm-hmm.
where it looks like nothing is happening. But when you think of a tree, the roots are growing in winter. That's their job during winters. Things are happening under the surface, just not out loud, but it looks like
Yeah.
God left me. It looks like nothing's happening in my business. And all of that is natural.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons, Renae, I burnt out bad is because I built an entire lifestyle over my summer, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Vibrant, clear,
Mm-hmm.
energized. Like I literally built a business over my capacity that I have in summer.
Yeah.
And so when fall started showing up and winter started showing up, I had no harvest. I had no acorns spent away. I was like, all my money was getting reinvested into coaches and into trips and into houses and into all these things. And then all of a sudden, the natural evolution of like, hey, things are going to scale back. Like we're going to have dips. I wasn't prepared. I
Mm-hmm.
was living off of everything we were making. And so I went into that place of trying to scale and actually spending all our money rather than saving up for when the natural evolution
Yeah.
of fall and winter is going to come. I don't know if that's ever happened to you or you see that with your clients, but if I could shout something from the rooftops, it's like, don't build your business around summer, you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
be prepared because there's natural evolutions that are going to come and you need to have built a business that can sustain you when that
Mm-hmm.
happens. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to share that.
No, totally. And I think, I mean, it goes even bigger than that, like in every aspect, not just financial, but when we were talking about before of like my VIP day with Sam. And one of the things that she like was asking was like, what are the things that really light you up in your business? Like, where do you love spending your time and your energy and stuff? And the podcast conversation came up. And I had told her like how much like taking a break from my podcast felt so freaking good. Like I took a year off the podcast and I was like so amazing. But then by the end of the year, I was like itching to have these conversations and to start talking again. But now that I've been doing it, I don't know, I think it's been like 6, 9, 8 months, something like that, that I've been like re-recording. I was like, I'm feeling that feeling again of like, oh, it's like, it's just work. It's like, there's stuff to do, like whatever. And she was like, what if she goes, well, it makes total sense. Like your entire business is built around seasons. She's like, what if your podcast was in seasons too? Like, what if you just gave yourself that permission and like makes complete sense that you only release podcast episodes in batches and like these are the seasons. And I was like, I don't know why I'd never really thought of that essence of like even the littlest things of producing content and social media and our podcast and like all of these pieces. We are so cyclical in so many different ways. And yet you're right. Like so much of the world out there and messaging is like be on, be going, be producing, like create this like all the time. And it's just not who and how we are. Like we're just not that way. I think even I was talking with my friend recently about this essence of like our society is so focused on production. We are so focused on outcomes. We are so focused on the results of everything, right? Like everything. We even look at just like governmental and like expansion and like where our world is at right now. It is so driven on outcome and results and that like productivity piece of it that we've lost touch of more of those feminine pieces. Like the state, the beingness, the qualities, the feelings, like it doesn't matter if you get to a result if you feel like you lost your life and everything in the process. Like that doesn't make sense. And I think even just kind of going back to your like talk about like pushing and going to that next level of like income and stuff, I felt that in some of the coaching containers I'd most recently been in and seeing everybody else around me achieving bigger milestones, achieving bigger things, and yet never once really feeling like they were satisfied with the level that they would get to. You know, I was watching people hit like multi-million dollar businesses and still like, okay, what's the next goal? What's the next? Like, there was always this essence of like pushing harder and pushing bigger. And it's came to that question of like, when do you get to a place where it's like, we don't have to keep pushing it bigger? We're just good. We're good. Like, we've got the life we want. We're making the impact we want. Like, it's steady. It's like, whatever's fine. Like, why do we always have to be upping the bar and making it bigger and making it bigger and harder and all these things? And I watched that and I kept from the outside feeling that pressure of what if, like listening, like what if $100,000 a year is your ideal business? But yeah, you're hearing all these like multi seven figures, like go bigger, go multi six figures. Like, what if 1 million is enough? Like, where do we like, I guess, define what is it that we want and what's the life that we want to create instead of just looking at what everybody else around us is? And I think that there's just this like compulsory need to go bigger and to make it bigger and to go after it. And that's like when we've hit that goal, like now the goal post just moves. Like we just create bigger. But is it like really that we want it to go bigger? Or is it because, like you said, there's this like defining metric of success that is continually climbing? But why? Like it's just, anyway.
But
Yeah.
but I think that's a great topic to bring up because
Hmm.
we work in a male dominated industry as far as the conversation around how we get to success. And that's very linear.
Yes.
And so when we see people continuing to go up, we think we're behind and we need to always be
Hmm.
measuring up. But especially
Hmm.
as women, we go through not only cycles and seasons in a month, in our lifetime, but nobody goes through more cycles and seasons more than a woman compared to a man, even around their child
Yeah.
relationship, the dynamic of how we hold raising children at the same time as building this business. Because, for example, this last year, this is my third child I had, and I have a almost 10-year-old, almost, 7.5-year-old, and then I have a 1.5-year-old. And because of my wisdom of having two other children, I knew with my body, I was like, I come back. I know
Hmm.
I come back. I know I get my body back. So I'm going to give myself the grace of saying, how can I be so present? I know I'm going to be motivated again in business. I know that I'll travel without my kids again. Like, cause I did that. I had a 6-year gap in between my last two kids. So it
Hmm.
gave me enough space to actually go, hey, wisdom, this season ends. This
Yeah.
balancing of, even right now, it's summer when we're recording this, it's like I'm balancing. I picked up my kids from camp right before I got on. I'm still in my workout clothes from this morning. This is a season. I
Yeah.
know one day again, I'm going to be like looking like a babe on a podcast, but today this is how doing my work and being present gets to exist. And so I want to share this with the women listening. The season you're in is also still temporary. The things that you're
Hmm.
holding, we are always counterbalancing presence and prosperity. Our business, and our presence in our lives. Men are never asked that question of like, do you think you'll go back to work after your child's born? Like,
Yeah.
do you think you'll take off for the summer? How will you navigate your business when your kids are home? Like, my husband does not get asked that question.
Yeah.
It's a conversation for a mother. And so there's always like this feeling of not enoughness for women when we're building our businesses because we're constantly comparing ourselves to, subconsciously, by the way, to the people who are holding business at a different season of life. Like, for example,
Hmm.
if I look at a mentor and she is not a mother, I need to always understand I need to take her advice with nuance.
Yeah.
She is not holding the same thing as me,
Yeah.
right? Like she's going to give me advice based on her ability to give herself to her business all day long. That's usually their
Yeah.
baby if they don't. And that's great. But I always take that with a grain of salt or a little nuance because she's not holding it in the way. So
Mhm.
when I look to mentors now, I go, why is that person great? Let me just take that one area of expertise and don't take the advice from all the other areas of their life. I'm paying them for strategy and business, cool systems. I'm paying them around feminine alignment, great.
Mhm.
Don't take all of it and compare your whole self to their whole self because it's different. And I
It
know
is
we get
so.
that on like, of course, but it's like worth reminding again because so many times we think we're behind. If you look at my business right now, it looks like I'm losing. It
Mhm.
looks like I'm failing compared to where I was in 2022 at my highest peak. But I'm thriving in this season right now. I just made the choice this last year to homeschool my children. I was like, let's give it a go. I want to see what that's like. I want to live that life experience. I want to be present and content and experience my children. And I'm going to figure out how business could coexist with this. That came with all the growing pains of that for sure. But I was like, I want to look back on my life and have lived that experience. It's summer right now. I want to be
Mhm.
present with my kids. So my business is existing in a way that it's going to exist different in 2 months from now when
Yeah.
we've got some structure with school back. So again, I don't even think we're talking about something that's revolutionary, but it's worth reminding because sometimes we forget and we feel like such, I know I felt that way. It's like, why do I suck so bad? And it's like, wait,
Mhm.
my definition of success right now looks like the harmony of these things in this season. And it's going to look different in 3 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's like it is. It's like we need to define our own success and we need to figure out what that success means for us. And like kind of goes back to that conversation of like figure out what the number is that actually is going to give you that harmony that you want. Like it isn't always about going bigger and always wanting more. I think it brings up a conversation that I've been talking to a lot lately recently is in this essence of like boundaries around just technology in general and in the your sense of like the presence. I think where a lot of especially entrepreneurs that are juggling mom life and all these other things are like talking about it like I squeeze in work in small little cracks of time, right? I don't oftentimes have a lot, especially now in summer. Like I don't have lots of time without kids in my house. Like and in a week or two my kids are hosting, my oldest is hosting a summer camp. So I'm going to have like 5 bajillion kids running around my house, right? So the idea of being able to like sit and work and get lots of things done is just going to your like it's not like other mentors, like not like other coaches. Like it's not going to be possible for me. And so some parts of me, I'm like, I'm squeezing work into small little cracks of time. What's happened with that though is that I'm then compulsory going to my phone all the time, right? There's this lack of a boundary of, hey, this is work time, which I think just talking about like some mentors that don't have kids, that don't whatever, like they can sit down at their desk and they can be like, I'm working from 8 to 2 and then my day's done and I walk away. I don't get that. I get maybe, like a 15 minutes in the carpool pickup line. I get 15 minutes while at the end of the day, or like, oh, they're riding their bikes around the neighborhood by themselves real quick. I've got 5 minutes right here. So it creates this like instant pull towards the phone. And for me, I've noticed that being the biggest shift that I didn't know was happening. Like people talk about like you don't know how bad or how much like or the lack of energy or how much your food or sugar or whatever's impacting to you until you like change it and you get rid of it. And like probably the same for you, like looking at social media, like that essence of like until you start setting those boundaries around it, you don't realize how much it was really impacting you. A friend of mine was just talking about like getting rid of his watch. He realized like how much, yeah,
I got rid of my Apple Watch.
that's
I
my like
lose my phone all the time now, and I couldn't have imagined that reality a year ago.
yeah, where like even for me, I have a walking pad and I like tracking my exercise. That's the one thing like I really still like about the watch. and that I keep my phone's on vibrate, like silent all of the time. The ringer is never on. So the only reason I know like a call comes in is because it vibrates, but I like have it on my walking pad. I started wearing my watch on my ankle so that I can track those steps still, but not like when I'm working at my desk and I don't feel it vibrate on my ankle. And I was like, that's actually just like a like easy little strategy of like when it's on my ankle, I don't feel it vibrate as much like when I'm walking. But how every little time you get that notification, every little time you get the little ding, every time you get like whatever, it's like pulling us out of that present moment. And I didn't realize how much that present moment was getting robbed of me in all of those little micro ways all throughout the day. And how going back to that idea of burnout and conversation, I think that's where a lot of the burnout is coming for people is this place of like, we're constantly being pulled in all of these other places all of the time, and that we're not coming back and restoring ourselves, like grounding in ourselves. We're like, we're just constantly producing, constantly putting out, constantly having something going at us, constantly like, I got this thing or that thing. And it really like coming back to the idea of like, it is a choice. It's like a choice of like, I'm going to turn those things off for a moment and I'm going to reconnect with myself. I'm actually allow myself to feel like angry, happy, sad, whatever feeling comes up and allow myself to be with that and then move forward. Like that, I think that I think going back to my like thing of like, it is really like that choosing. It is a choice to set those boundaries. And I think when we do that, that's what liberates us out of that burnout. That's what liberates us out of like the comparison and the shitting and all of the other things that come. It's that like presence. It's like allowing ourselves to be fully present in the reality. And that's where the pleasure and all those, the play, all of that stuff comes from. Like we can't tap into that when we're constantly tallying all the other things that are coming at us that we have to get done.
So I remember the first example, or the first time I really remember realizing I wasn't a present person. It
Mm-hmm.
was when my two bigger kids were little. I mean, they were little, like maybe baby and two. They were little. And I remember being with them all day long and being so busy. And I would get into bed at night and I would look at pictures of them and I would miss them. And I would be like,
Mm,
I wasn't even present in these moments. I would look back at the photos I took and the Instagram stories and the whatever I did. And I was like, I was with them, but I wasn't with them.
yeah.
And I started to realize like I was missing that whole moment with them. And this last year, when I took a social media break, what it allowed me to do, I mean, y'all, I didn't know how much of my self-worth was connected to my relationship to social media and to people. I did not think I was someone who was like really unhealthy. I had taken many
Yeah.
social media breaks. I had already like made some boundaries with it, but by stepping out of it, the way I kind of explain it was almost like I was in a river and I got out onto the riverbank and I just stepped all the way out and I was able to see what it feels like outside of the water of influence because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't getting on the app. I had nothing to say. I wasn't building a market and I could feel beyond even the presence, there's a dopamine addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Even the dings on our watch, like, "Boop, someone liked my thing. Someone needs to talk to me. Money's coming in." Like all of that is a dopamine hit for us. And so when I took all of that away from me, I realized how I was like, wait, is this what normal feels like? Is this like,
Yeah.
it, it felt boring. I
Yes.
felt like I craved. I was like, there's nothing happening in my life. Like I felt so understimulated by nothingness, by presence. I was like, it was so fascinating for me that like I had the opportunity. We always are like, if I could just have the time to be with my kids. Well, I now had the time and I didn't know how to present my mind, body, and
Mhm.
spirit to actually
Mhm.
be with them. And so it was uncomfortable before it ever
Mhm.
became comfortable.
Yeah.
But the minute, here's how you know you're really present. It becomes sensational. I had to learn how to experience things again presently. And I've gotten so good at presence, I should say, so practiced at it. I'm still in practice of it,
Yeah.
that I lead a presence retreat around feeling senses and being present because, one of the things I teach in my work is I teach women how to hear from God. I teach women how to hear from their higher self, how to find their purpose, how to sense um, when messages are being sent to you. That can only happen in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be hyper aware to the sensations that are showing up. And that means you have to be in the present moment, which is so hard for us to do.
Yeah.
And what I really believe that most of us want, and you can speak back to this, but I believe as women, we want to, number one, we want to live out our full potential in our lifetime, but we want to be present to it while it's happening. We don't want to
Totally.
end up at the end of our lives going, I missed it. I missed it
Mm-hmm.
when they were this age. I missed it at this moment. I missed this. Man, I love that reel, that like social media reel that went around that was like, imagine if you woke up as your 80-year-old self, but you were in your 38-year-old body and with
Mm-hmm.
those kids and with your husband who is healthy and strong and with, you could call your mother and it was like, it brings you back to the fact that like one day we're going to wish we were right here. And
Yeah.
how can we just enjoy this season of our evolution? How can we be so present to the fact that, like, Renae, you're figuring out who you are at this moment in time, but like, be with this version of Renae,
Mm-hmm.
be with this version of your children, be with this version of your self discovery, be with this version of your business growth. Like, everything we're doing. I had a mentor who said, my goal is evolution over a lifetime. So I need to stop. We all need to stop thinking we're going to set it and forget it. That's
Yeah.
what the marketing bros sell us. They're like, make this one masterclass, build this one
Yeah.
course. That's not real. It's not real. What we will do is build upon wisdom, build upon greatness. We will take lessons, we'll refine again, build again. You're never going to be rebuilding from ground zero again. I just shut down, burnt down, fell apart a whole business. And now I'm in my coming back out and I go, I'm not building from ground zero. I'm on
Mm-hmm.
another level, building
Mm-hmm.
up again. And I see that now and realize everything gets used if you allow it to. So I think I just want to leave a message for the women
Yeah.
who are having a hard time being with the season that they're in. This is the season you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself all the way to it. If it's winter, be all the way in your winter. Let winter teach you. Like, if you are in summer, enjoy it, but store up
Mm-hmm.
for fall. Like, if you
Yeah.
are, I don't know. I think I just want to leave that message because I was missing that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. I mean, it is very true. Like, I think there's this feeling of, yeah, overproduction. And like my new mantra, like I say it at the end of every morning, like my meditation is overflow is my new normal. And it's like that feeling of like everything is overflowing, but there are like that overflow comes from the seasons. It comes from being in all of it. Like your harvest does come after you've slowed down, and your harvest does come after you've been still, and it does come after the growth and the learning and all those things. And I think that just in the online space, there's so much. Like, I think that was a big thing for me is like I was like, tell me the mindset hack, tell me the strategy, give me the subconscious work, do the limiting belief work, like do all these things, like help me excavate and figure out what needs to go, and so that I can move fast and go. And like the mentors I've seen, like these quantum leaps, these big growths, these like, and it's like you said, always trajectoried up. There's rarely the ones that are like sitting there like, let me show you how it all dipped and fell apart, you know? And I think there's just like we talked about at the beginning, like what's our intention? Like this honest conversation. I think there's just not enough of people talking about that. And even to go back to what you said too, of like this evolution. I saw something recently. It was like people are trying to build their business as if it's 2020 and they're using 2021 and 2020 strategies and things. That's like trying to do that in 2025. It's like everything changes. Like the market changes, the strategies that worked are changing, and what was in is not, and people are learning and people are evolving, and like what people are desiring. Like I know that was one of the things I brought up with Sam, was like I spent this entire last year, probably 18 months, really focusing on like an evergreen program or like webinar to a self-study program. And it did
Yeah.
great at first. And then as time went on, it got worse and worse and worse. And no matter what tweaking, no matter what I did, it was not getting better. It was getting worse, you know? And that was where I was like, I was being called to evolve. I was being called to change. And I think we sometimes don't honor that. Like when we see, like I have friends of mine that are making oodles of money with their same course that they've been doing. And sometimes that's going to work for some people. And others of us, it's like we're being called to do something different. And I think it's
Yeah.
really important for us to be okay sitting in that.
Yep. Well, and if it was me and what I see online right now,
Hmm.
especially having come back online and feeling what's resonating online, if I was to give one piece of advice, it would be speak truth and be authentic
Hmm.
because we're all tired. We can
Hmm.
feel the AI content. And the minute someone says something honest, it makes you stop the scroll. You're like, that's
Yeah.
real. I feel the vibration of like an authentic story here or an authentic truth here. And we are craving that. Like
Hmm.
we are being infiltrated with so, like, y'all, if you use Chat GPT and all this stuff, like we can see it a mile away now. We can see
Hmm.
the curated thing. And what we want, what we still desire on these devices is the ability to connect. And if so,
Yeah.
I actually saw a video where this speaker was saying, we think the highest vibration is love. Like on the vibration scale, it's actually authenticity.
Mm.
This guy was saying, out of all the studies that he was doing with people, he thought when people were telling their stories, it would always be a vibration of love. If they told a story about love, he said, but it didn't matter if they told a story of grief, if they told a story of loss, if they told a story of anger, if they told a story of connection. He said, as long as they were being authentic, it vibrated at the highest level. So we feel that
Yeah.
online. And so even
Yeah.
Renae, this conversation today, I won't be surprised if it is a successful podcast because we're just being honest. We're
Mhm.
not doing this for gain. We're saying, let us tell some truth. Let's come
Mhm.
together as women who are in it. We are in the personal work, our own evolution, and we want to move forward and grow something consistently. Let's have an
Yeah.
honest conversation. So I would say if you want to grow your business magnetically, speak some freaking truth right now. Tell the truth and you will stand out and vibrate in, magnetize in. It's just soul refreshing right now. We're tired of the content that is just not ringing true to our being.
Yeah. And there's just so much of it. I think that that's like I love using ChatGPT for the sense of like speed and efficiency. Like sometimes I'm like I know the story I want to tell. I know the idea that I want to tell. I know what I want to, and I like type it in and it's like it spits it out, makes it so much prettier than I would have like it would have taken me so much longer, you know? So I'm like there's this essence of like there is so much of speed and capability that's now making it so there's so much more content. Like there's so much out there, there's so much like there's just so much noise that I think that when we do have those like real really honest like juicy ones, they do make a difference. And honestly, so one of the things I've been experimenting with was I was creating some content and it was working really well, and I would like I said, I would use chat gpt, I'd come up with the idea, I know what I want to say, I know what I want to talk about, I would just let it use my content and like just make it prettified, right? Like so that I'm not having to sit there and make sure the sentence grammar is all correct and like make sure it flows. Like I like would just ramble my ideas in a jumbled up sort of way and then let it clean it up. And so what I tried to do, fully transparent and honest, was tried to have my assistant start doing that for me. where she would take, I gave her like lists of ideas of like topics and conversations, content that I wanted her to create, and then let her run with it with ChatGPT and try to create the content. And I was talking to somebody recently about like, they all fall flat.
They
They all
fall
fall flat.
flat. I'm
They
like, I'm
do.
choking myself over here, wanting to interrupt you, being like, I know they don't work.
They don't
They
work.
fall flat.
And it was so fascinating. I was actually talking to Sam about it. I was like, if I use ChatGPT like that, like I'm creating my idea, this is what the story I want to tell, this is how I want to tell it, this is the like the whole thing, and I just make it beautify it, those work great. But the one, because I think it's because it's still my energy. I'm still the one pouring into the content. I'm just like asking it to, clean it up a little bit, versus the ones where they're still my ideas, but I'm letting her run with it with ChatGPT. It's her energy and ChatGPT's energy. It's not mine. And it's been fascinating, even just like in this little experiment in the last month, to watch that of they don't perform when she does it versus when I do it.
It's just the wildest thing. And so I want to say
Yeah.
this too. Like I could take I could take a story and give it to chat and it could break it up into 5 pieces of content for me. Cool. That's volume. But
Yeah.
let's just say I get 5 saves on each of those things. Was it worth it? Or if, so I wrote one the other day. Um, I'm going to look at the insights real quick. It was literally about here's the hook. How do you begin to tell the story of your fall apart? That means I'm
Mm.
about to tell the story of how my business burnt down. It is authentic. It is honest. It is real. Within 2 days, I had 48 saves, 95 comments. Like 8 people shared it. And again, whoever's listening, you might be like, that's nothing, or you might be like, that's a lot. For me at this moment of time, that showed value. I
Yeah.
did another one a couple days before. I did something that was like generic, and for something I was promoting, no saves, like 15
Yeah.
comments, like whatever. My point is, we cannot automate our authenticity.
Hmm. Hmm.
Use that chat GP tool as a tool for some other things and use it for your emails and use it for things that are not high vibration connection. But if you are on the app for connection, connect, bring your
Yeah.
heart, bring your soul, stay in your stories. I'd rather see less curated content and see more authenticity, because that gives me vibrational buy-in with that person. There were seasons where I like filtered my pictures and I made myself very curated and it all had a theme. I lost connection with my audience when I filtered the way I showed up. When I started just
Yeah.
being like, hey, I'm in my mom's season right now, and I don't really have time to put a cover photo on this anymore. So here's the hook, here's the story, here's the thing I just shared in my stories, and I made it into a reel. It's connecting even greater. So
Hmm.
I think my takeaway I just want to share is like, when you are being you, it will always be the most powerful way you can show up, period. Can you hear my baby crying?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, great way to we're wrapping up here anyway, and it's like, let's just let that be authentic. Like that is the
There we
season
are.
sometimes
Yep.
we're in. I'm like, oh, they're telling you, Mom, you are done. It is time to be done. Kelly, this was amazing and so good. Like, where can people find you and how can they connect with you?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at Kelly Brock. You can go to Kelly Brock Co. on my website and to find out all about the courses, the retreats, the experiences, the programs, and the ways that we can connect in feminine leadership and building your authentic, aligned, and abundant businesses. That's where I focus. And, if you want to know where I'm headed, energy right now is really helping women who want to hold presence and prosperity, who want to grow in their feminine leadership, be present to their life experience, and move their businesses forward in an authentic way. So if that
Yeah.
vibrates with you, if that
Yeah.
feels resonant, then definitely connect. And honestly, Renae, this was a refreshing conversation. So anyone who listens to this, if it mattered to you, would you please let us know? Because like that's the feedback that makes us know, do more of this.
Hmm.
bring more
Yeah.
of this. And so I just always appreciate that reciprocation when people tell me it counted. So I would actually love to like connect.
Yeah.
That's the best thing for me.
I know. I feel like sometimes I think we've been in this space of like so much of the connection is filtered with the lens of like, I'm just trying to sell to you.
Yeah.
And I feel that sometimes, like when I get a DM or I get a message, I'm like, has sale, you're trying to sell me written all over it. And
Right.
so the other day I was like I was sending out a bunch of conversation topics and whatever. And it was just like, like, how's life going? Like, what's going on? And I was like, I really hope this doesn't come across as like just trying to start a conversation to try to sell, because like in the back of my mind, it was truly just like, hey, I just want to start having more conversations. Like I want to talk to
Yeah.
more people.
Yeah.
And yet I think there is this lens of people are afraid to have conversations. They're afraid to talk because there's that lens of like, if I show any interest or show any sort of topic or any conversation, it's only going to lead to a sale. And so, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I just want to have more conversations. So I agree. Yeah.
We're
Cool.
bringing some human back to the online
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you, Kelly. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a beautiful episode. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you, friend.